Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are taking a really close look today, diving into a new work from an author known for hitting hard, right? Colleen Hoover. If you know her stuff, like It Ends With Us or Confess, you know what to expect. We're talking raw emotion, high stakes, difficult subjects, grief, betrayal.
Exactly. And the source material we have gives us this incredibly complex family setup. You've got Morgan, she's 34, kind of trapped in her life, and her daughter, Clara, who's, well, the opposite. Very sharp, very ambitious.
And it all looks, okay on the surface until this one event just blows everything apart.
Rips the veneer right off, yeah. And suddenly everyone's facing truths they've maybe spent years trying to ignore.
So our mission here isn't just plot summary. We want to get into the why. How does crisis change someone? How does grief show up? Because it's not always just sadness, is it? Sometimes it's rebellion.
Right. And how do those secrets from the past end up, well, basically running the future? We'll be looking at Morgan, her husband Chris, her sister Jenny, who's very different from Morgan.
The outgoing one.
Right. And Chris's best friend, Jonah, who's also Jenny's partner, father to baby Elijah. And then the kids, Clara, and this boy she likes, Miller Adams. He's into film.
Okay, so that initial setup, the characters, it's like setting up dominoes, isn't it? You see where the weaknesses are before anything even happens.
That's a great way to put it. Morgan's our anchor. Had Clara young, 17, dropped out of college, life became mom, wife, full stop.
And Jenny, her sister, is the complete contrast. Spontaneous, energetic.
Always chasing something, yeah. And then Chris, the husband, and Jonah, the best friend, they seem like this solid pair, but you quickly realize there's something hidden there, something dangerous.
Let's start with Morgan then, because her situation, it's like a case study in quiet desperation. Built her whole world around being a wife and mother after getting pregnant.
Yeah, and now she's 34, looks around and realizes she's kind of disappeared. The source material uses this phrase, a gaping hole, something that's sucking the air out of each day. It's heavy.
And how does she cope? This is fascinating. Rigid control, like extreme predictability.
Oh, it's intense. The details are so specific, it's almost unsettling. Wake up at 6 a.m., breakfast exactly at 7, dinner 7:37 down, gym at 10.
Don't forget groceries on Mondays, sheets on Wednesdays.
Right. It's not just a schedule, it feels like a cage she built herself.
Yeah.
Maybe to feel safe, or maybe just to avoid thinking about what she actually wants out of life.
But that safety, it curdles, doesn't it? It makes her feel boring. And the worst part, her own daughter confirms it.
Oof, yeah, Clara, who's described as really confident, perceptive. She just looks at her mom and sums her up with one word: predictable.
That has to sting.
Deeply. Morgan's reaction is visceral. She realizes her whole life, everything she sacrificed, can be boiled down to this single, dull word. It's that moment of realizing sacrifice might just mean self-erasure.
And that sacrifice is tied up with Chris, her husband.
Yeah.
He sees her that way too, doesn't he? The sacrifice.
Yeah, the hero who gave up her dreams. And it's really telling, I think, that he only seems to compliment her when he's drunk, praising drunk Morgan because maybe that's the version that fits his narrative better.
She still loves parts of him, though. The smile.
She clings to that, yeah, to the hope. But then he looks at her, and she feels that void again, that emptiness, which is terrifying because it stands in such sharp contrast to how she feels when Jonah looks at her.
Okay, so the seeds are there.
Okay.
And then comes the inciting incident, the pregnancy scare.
Right. Before this graduation party, she realizes her period is 2 weeks late. And it's not just, oh no, another baby, it's panic. Existential dread.
Because it forces the question.
Exactly. Is Chris the person she wants to do this with again for another 18 years, forever? And the answer is just this huge, frightening wave of doubt.
So the party, that's where it all kind of crystallizes.
It's the flashpoint. Chris gets drunk, makes that comment, drunk Morgan is my favorite Morgan, basically wanting her less inhibited, which just makes her feel more alone.
But then Jonah steps in.
Yeah. He sees she's upset, he lies to Chris, says he'll drive so Morgan doesn't have to pretend to drink, hands her a soda, covers for her.
Just a small thing,
Yeah.
a soda.
But it's everything. That one act of quiet protection, of seeing her, it fills that emptiness she's been drowning in. The source describes it as heat and flutters and heartbeats. It's like a switch flips.
When she realizes.
She realizes those feelings for Jonah, the one she crushed down when she chose Chris all those years ago, they're still there. And they're powerful. So her identity crisis becomes this terrifying crisis of desire, too.
We need to talk about Jonah's character here. He's not flashy like Chris or Jenny.
No, he's the quiet one. Mature, calm, even when he's had a bit to drink or whatever. He's dating Jenny, Morgan's sister, who is so unlike him.
The whole opposites attract thing.
Well, Morgan tries to put that label on them, Jenny and Jonah just shrugs, doesn't really engage with it. It's subtle, but it's like he's refusing to buy into the story that they're this perfect match. Hints that maybe his heart's always been somewhere else.
But before Morgan can even process this, figure out what to do.
Fate, or maybe just terrible luck, intervenes. Brutally, Chris and Jenny, dead in a car wreck, together.
It's just instant devastation. The internal conflict she was having is suddenly externalized in the worst possible way.
And the aftermath is described as just painfully silent. Morgan and Jonah are like zombies, aren't they? Lava coats our throats, is the phrase used.
But the silence isn't just grief, it's fear, too.
Oh, absolutely. Morgan immediately shuts down any discussion of why Chris and Jenny were in that car. She doesn't want to know. Or maybe she already suspects and can't face it.
So she lies to Clara.
Instantly. Comes up with this whole story. Chris had a flat tire. Good sister Jenny was giving him a ride. It's the first layer of deception, trying to shield Clara from the infidelity she suspects.
And then reality bites. Hard. Money.
Yeah. On top of everything else, the practical stuff hits. Chris's life insurance. The source gives this incredibly specific, almost clinical calculation.
2 years, 6 months, and 13 days.
Exactly. If they keep living the way they are. That precision. It speaks volumes about Morgan's need for control, even now, maybe especially now. She can't rely on being a wife anymore. She needs a job. She has 914 days before the money runs out.
That pressure changes everything. The focus shifts.
Yeah.
From the adult's implosion to the teenager, Clara, nearly 17.
And she's so different from Morgan. Confident, assured is the word used. She doesn't bottle things up. She acts out.
How she acts out.
Yeah.
It's shocking. Skipping her own dad's funeral.
Yeah. To go get high with Miller Adams, the boy she likes, it's not just teenage rebellion. It feels like a desperate lunge for numbness. Anything to escape the pain.
But there's guilt underneath it all. Massive guilt.
Oh, yeah. She confesses later she thinks the crash was her fault. Because she was texting Jenny right before it happened. She assumed Jenny was driving her own car. When the text stopped, she made that horrible connection.
So grief and guilt are all tangled up for her, driving her towards Miller.
Exactly. And Miller Adams himself is interesting. Let's get into him.
Okay. Popular senior, into film. Seems like a typical high school crush setup.
But it's not quite that simple. The sources make a point of showing his life isn't perfect either. Clara's surprised when she sees his house small, older, needs paint. Not the mansion she might have expected from a popular kid. Makes him more real, maybe?
Relatable. His life isn't perfect either.
Right, and choosing Miller is also a direct challenge to her dad, isn't it?
Right. Chris didn't like Miller's family.
Hated them.
Yeah.
Made a big deal about Miller's dad having a criminal record, stealing a car, DUIs. So Chris drew this hard line. Clara was forbidden from seeing Miller.
So going after Miller now, it's partly defiance. Punishing her dead father, maybe, and her mom, who represents the
It
rules.
feels like that, yeah. Very complicated act of mourning and rebellion. But Miller isn't just the bad boy stereotype. There's his Gramps.
Right, Gramps. He sounds like a character.
Definitely. He has cancer, moving to hospice soon. But he provides this unexpected warmth and humor, sarcasm mostly. But it shows Clara this other side of family, flawed but loving, a contrast to her own shattered home.
So Clara pushes the boundaries, lying to her mom.
Constantly. Sneaking out to meet Miller at the movie theater where he works. Even sneaking him into her bedroom. It escalates fast.
And the drug use, that's part of the rebellion too.
Mm-hmm. Miller gets her weed through his coworker, this guy Steven. Miller doesn't really smoke himself, but he lights the joint for her. Again, it's pushing against what her dad would have wanted.
But she doesn't actually like it.
No, she finds it disgusting, unnatural, hates it, actually. The text says, drugs aren't my thing either. So it wasn't about getting hooked. It was a gesture. An attempt at escape that just didn't work for her.
Okay, so the destructive coping mechanisms aren't really clicking.
Yeah.
But then there's the creative outlet.
Yes. The film project, Jonah, who's their teacher, actually encourages them to work together.
Yeah.
And this becomes, well, crucial for Clara, a way to process things constructively.
And the project itself.
Yeah.
It's wild. A mockumentary about orange.
Yeah. Arguing that orange is the absolute worst color of all colors. You have to lean into the absurdity here because it's brilliant. It's like she's taking all her uncontrollable grief and channeling it into this tightly controlled, completely bizarre, hilarious argument.
Okay, break it down. What are the segments?
There are three. First, you have Miller's Gramps, Peter. He tells this story about wearing an orange shirt back in the 50s and missing his date with Mary because she preferred blue. And this apparently changed his whole life.
Wow. The tragedy of Orange.
Exactly. It's about how tiny things, aesthetic choices, can have these huge, uncontrollable consequences. Like fate.
Then there's Caitlin.
What's her orange trauma? Her dad apparently had a heart attack and died right after his wife suggested painting the living room orange. So orange was literally his last word.
Oh my God. That's dark, but also absurdly funny in this context.
It is. It touches on that fear of domestic life, maybe. The home turning lethal, which mirrors Morgan's own struggles in a way. And the finale,
Dr. Bloom-Blington.
the fake expert, claims orange causes most cases of chromophobia and is hated because nothing rhymes with it. Pure chaos presented as science. It's Clara processing the senselessness of everything through, well, nonsense.
How do the adults react? Morgan must be baffled.
Totally confused. Her and her friend Lexi, who's kind of the supportive side character, they just don't get it. But Jonah,
The teacher.
and the one who gets creativity, he calls it brilliant, says it could be submitted to festivals. He sees the catharsis in it, even if it's wrapped in absurdity.
Okay, so while Claire is channeling her grief into hating Orange, Morgan is starting to dig into the truth.
Yeah, the adult investigation begins. And it's just as painful as you expect. Morgan finds Chris's toolbox. Locked.
Always a lockbox.
Inside, letters, cards, to Chris, in Jenny's handwriting. Confirmation of the affair they both kind of suspected but didn't want to face.
And it gets worse, doesn't it? The detail.
Oh, much worse. Morgan and Jonah, now sort of united in this awful shared suspicion, start piecing things together. They realize Chris and Jenny were planning to meet at the Langford Hotel.
The same hotel Morgan and Chris went to for an anniversary.
The very same. It's rubbing salt in the wound. Calculated cruelty, almost.
And the timing.
That's the kicker. They figure out Chris and Jenny finalize these plans, their tryst, right there at the dinner table, the night before the crash, in front of Morgan and Jonah.
No way.
Yes. Jenny was all excited about tomorrow, and they thought she meant going back to work after maternity leave. But no. She was excited about meeting Chris, flaunting it, basically. The disrespect is staggering.
And that's not even the biggest betrayal.
Not even close. The real earthquake hits later. Morgan discovers the truth about Elijah, Jonah's son.
He's not Jonah's son.
He's Chris's son. Chris is the biological father, which means Chris, Jenny, they weren't just having an affair. They were hiding this massive, life-altering secret for years. From everyone, especially Jonah.
Wow. So Jonah is raising his best friend's secret child with his deceased partner, who was cheating on him with that best friend. It's devastatingly complex, and this shared trauma, this specific kind of betrayal, is what really binds Morgan and Jonah together now. Morgan observes that Jonah isn't grieving Chris the husband, but they both feel profoundly cut by Chris and Jenny's actions. It's not just loss, it's humiliation, anger.
And Jonah is struggling, understandably.
Massively. He's trying to raise this baby alone, dealing with the grief, the financial stress, and he doesn't even know the full extent of the lie he's living. He hits a wall.
Leaves Elijah with Morgan.
Yeah, just reaches his breaking point, walks away for a bit, leaves the baby with Morgan. It shows how immense the pressure is. He's completely overwhelmed.
But Clara steps in, the teenager.
It's kind of amazing. Clara goes to his place, which is apparently a disaster zone, total mess, and she doesn't yell at him. She just talks sense. Tells him Elijah hasn't rolled over yet, but he will soon, and Jonah's going to miss it if he's not there.
Hits him right where he counts. The fatherhood stuff.
Exactly. That simple reminder of those irreplaceable moments snaps him out of it. He goes right back to get Elijah. It's a turning point for him, facilitated by the kid who's been acting out the most.
So Morgan and Jonah, their connection deepens through all this shared pain. And then there's the painting incident.
Ah, yes. The hideous painting. Something Jenny insisted Chris loved, probably another lie. They decide to destroy it together.
Cathartic destruction.
Very. And they use eggs and mayonnaise. Things Chris hated. It's so specific, so symbolic, rejecting the lies, rejecting Chris and Jenny's false narrative.
And they end up laughing.
Covered in egg yolk and mayo, they slip and fall, and suddenly they're laughing, really laughing. For the first time since the crash, it's the release valve. The anger finally breaks, and connection starts to form in its place.
And that leads to the confession. The big one from Jonah.
The watermelon Jolly Ranchers. It sounds so trivial, doesn't
A
it?
candy preference.
But it's huge. He admits he never hated them. He only pretended to, leaving them behind because they were Morgan's favorite. He did it for years, a tiny, secret act of consideration.
Showing he always noticed her, cared about her.
Exactly. And then he confesses the rest. He loved her back when they were young. He only slept with Jenny because Morgan wasn't available. She was pregnant with Chris's child. And maybe, he admits, maybe he hoped it would hurt Morgan somehow. Or maybe just fill the void she left. He left town back then because he was heartbroken over her pregnancy.
Wow. Decades of hidden feelings just spill out. But then disaster strikes again.
Right on cue, Clara walks in, sees them kissing.
And jumps to the worst conclusion.
Instantly. Thinks they were having an affair before the crash, all the little things. The hotel connection, Jonah paying attention to Morgan.
Brett.
It clicks into place in the worst possible way for her. She feels betrayed all over again, but this time by her mom and Jonah.
Which forces Morgan's hand. No more lies.
None. Clara confronts her, furious, and Morgan has to tell her everything. The real reason Chris and Jenny were in the car. The planned rendezvous at the Langford Hotel. Admits the flat tire story was a complete fabrication to protect Clara from her father's infidelity.
How does Clara take it?
It's a massive shift. Her anger pivots away from Morgan and Jonah and squarely onto her dead father and aunt. She finally understands. Her mom wasn't a hypocrite. She was a shield. She was trying to protect Clara while going through the absolute worst thing imaginable.
The truth hurts, but the perceived hypocrisy hurt more.
It seems so. Knowing her dad cheated is awful, but realizing her mom wasn't part of some secret affair, that she was actually suffering alone, that changes everything for Clara's perspective.
And Clara's own relationship with Miller matures around this time, too.
Yeah, there's a brief moment where she dumps him right around her birthday in the middle of all this emotional chaos.
But he doesn't let her.
No. He comes back, calls her out, gently, points out that she was the one pushing their intimacy at first, maybe using him as revenge against her mom. But then he lays his own feelings bare.
Tells her he's liked her for years.
3 years. And that his previous girlfriend, Shelby, she was just a backup plan to you. It's brutally honest, but it's what Clara needs, maybe. That genuine connection.
Which leads to a compromise with Morgan about college.
Yes. Clara wants the BFA in acting at UT, her dream. Morgan had been pushing for something practical, psychology, accounting, projecting her own fears and regrets.
So Morgan lets go.
She does. She realizes she can't impose her past on Clara's future. There's this symbolic moment with Clara's birthday board. Morgan writes the new goal. My dreams for Clara. Clara's dreams for herself. It's a huge step. Morgan letting go of control, letting go of the sacrificer role.
So things start settling. Morgan and Jonah move forward.
Slowly, carefully. They start building a real relationship, acknowledging all the baggage. But Morgan makes a monumental decision about Elijah.
The baby. The secret.
She decides to raise him as his mother. And crucially, to protect him forever from the truth about Chris being his biological father. She sees herself in him, connects with him deeply.
So she chooses a lie. A protective lie.
Yes. A deliberate, conscious choice to shield him from the devastating knowledge that wrecked his biological family. It's a moral compromise, breaking the cycle of harmful secrets by creating, arguably, a necessary one, to give him stability and love.
And Morgan herself? What's her path forward?
She finds peace, in a way, realizes her life doesn't need to be predictable anymore, her new passion. Finding my passion is my passion. She gives herself permission to explore, to figure things out, and she rips up Jenny's letters to Chris, a final act of letting go of the past.
No more dwelling.
Exactly.
And Clara, her relationship with Morgan.
It improves dramatically. Clara reflects that she's grateful Morgan is not most mothers, meaning she handled it all with, eventually, honesty and grace. That break in the storm, as the source puts it, lets them finally communicate. The family is broken, yes, but rebuilt on something more authentic.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. This deep dive, even though it's fictional, really shows how trauma cracks everything open, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Morgan's predictable life was just a shell, hiding that emptiness. One catastrophe, and it shattered.
And grief. It wasn't just crying. For Clara, it was rebellion, drugs, acting out, but also that bizarrely brilliant film project.
Right. And for Morgan and Jonah, grief was mixed with anger, leading to that shared destruction of the painting, which weirdly became a bonding moment. Catharsis through mayo and eggs.
You gotta remember that detail. But what really strikes me is how disaster forced the truth out.
The affair, the paternity, Jonah's hidden love. None of it comes out until everything's already fallen apart. It's like the truth needed the wreckage to emerge.
And new connections formed in that wreckage. Morgan and Jonah, Clara and Miller.
Yeah, Miller turned out to be surprisingly solid, didn't he? Giving Clara space, that creative outlet with the mockumentary, and just being honest when she needed it most. He was an anchor.
And Morgan's final decision about Elijah. It's complex. She learns that knowing everything isn't always best. Sometimes protecting someone means withholding the truth.
She chooses a good lie, arguably, to prevent more pain, shielding the vulnerable, even at the cost of absolute honesty. It's a deliberate moral choice, shaped by everything she went through.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with something to think about, doesn't it? We saw the damage done by the bad lies, Chris and Jenny's affair, the hidden paternity, but then we see Morgan construct a protective lie for Elijah. So, in a world that's full of hard, painful truths, what is the moral cost of protecting someone you love from knowledge that might just devastate them? And how do you even tell the difference between a lie that saves and a lie that destroys?
That's a heavy question. It gets right to the heart of sacrifice, protection, and maybe the complicated nature of love itself. Definitely something that sticks with you.
We'll see you soon.